The City Council regular meeting for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We're all present and accounted for. If you would all join me in rising to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats. Thank you, Marissa. All right, we'll open up item number 3, citizen comment period. Remember, we are limited to 30 minutes total. Shouldn't be a factor tonight. Everybody has 3 minutes. And when you come up, please state your name and your address. And love having you here. Miss Linda Potts. Always a pleasure to see you. Yes, ma'am. There you go. The floor is yours.
There we go. Okay, my name is Linda Potts. I live at 8142 Ridge North Drive. Good evening, council and mayor. I'm here tonight to talk about the weekly watering times for the lawns. Garden Ridge has set the watering hours from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. These hours are great for people that have a sprinkler system, but for those of us that do not have a sprinkler system, it's very inconvenient. My understanding was that in the past, Garden Ridge followed the SAWS, or the City of the City of San Antonio's weekly times of watering, which is from 7 a.m. to 11 and 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. I'm just asking that you consider changing the watering hours so that it accommodates everybody in Garden Ridge, not just the few. And possibly those hours could be from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And even changing it, going from 6 to 9 would be a lot better than 4 a.m. because you don't want to see me out there in my nightgown. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Linda. Always a pleasure. Okay, Miss Sherilyn Krivka. The microphone is still on, ma'am, and the floor is yours. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. My name is Sherilyn Krivka, and I live at 20631 FM 3009. That's catty corner from Trophy Oaks on a 2.5-acre lot with a beige stucco wall and gate. The stucco wall was built by me and my husband 45 years ago. I am a resident of Garden Ridge now for 51 years, and I didn't move here as a child. I have 2 things I want to talk about. One is the accident occurrences on 3009. I had an accident occurrence on my property about 6 years ago, and while I was home when it occurred, I was not notified by the police. I was notified after the fact, and upon inquiring who had torn my wall up, was told I could get the name at City Hall in 2 to 4 days when the police report would be available. At that time, I found out the young lady who hit the wall only carried liability insurance and did not file a claim, so it was a pretty big mess. It would have been better if the police would have simply called me. They had my number, and I walked down there. So that's one thing. The other thing is that you've heard about a lot is the work on 3009. I found the subcontractor's contractor, Forte, to be evasive and simply gave lip service of agreeing on anything I asked. After research, I found that the real contractor was Textar, and had a meeting. I subsequently had a meeting with Nancy Kane, who was very receptive to my concerns and took action. Thank you. I subsequently went to Textar and talked with their man, Tracy, who worked with the supervisor, Pete Espinoza, who had met with Nancy and was told the following: all rocks will be cleared up, dirt will be put on to cover, roll grass seed will be put in area to restore it to its original condition. I have pictures of the original condition. Are we sure this is going to happen? I was out there today talking to them because they tore my wall up a little bit more. My property, my husband and I took great care when we put fencing on our property. All of our fencing sits inside our property line. So they literally have hurt my property, not the highway property. I just want to bring this to your attention. I will be sending registered letters to Techstar and to Forte and also to the Texas Highway Department, TxDOT, and perhaps seeking legal if I don't get a good response. But I think it's something that I would like the council and the mayor, and I know Nancy's already aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next on the list, Ms. Teresa Jeter. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Alrighty.
Good to see
Hello,
you.
my name is Teresa Jeter. I live at 20839 FM 3009. First of all, I want to thank you all for your service. I come here with some concerns that I would like for y'all to address or either change. Two of them have to do with the city police and notification of accidents. When there was an accident on 718, a car hit a tree on the property next door to me. They took chunks of the tree out. We have Oakwell ordinance. No one came and notified the homeowner that there was destruction to their tree on their property, not on the right-of-way. And we have Oakwell, who was going to address the wounds. The police officer never went and notified the homeowner. We were told there's an ordinance or a rule that the police do not notify when we have damage on our property. All of y'all have property in Garden Ridge. You would not appreciate someone coming, knocking down your mailbox or anything, and not being notified so that you could file a claim for the liability to get your property repaired. That's one. Second is the speeding on 3009. It's ridiculous. Last week, 3 times, I was tailgated by an 18-wheeler, a mother that wouldn't look at me. I point to the sign, it's 45 miles an hour. I'm going 45. Why are you giving me the salute? I call Ron, who does not inform me that he's the chief of police. Why? I don't know. I tell him, his response was, I cannot get in their minds, Ms. Jeter. What do you want me to do about it? I'm coming to y'all and saying that is not a correct response to someone that is complaining about something that is going on. Speeding is illegal, and we should uphold the law, should we not? Yes? No? I know you can't respond. But no one should be talked to that way, one. Second is, I have not seen radar. I was just informed when I came and shook his hand and introduced myself that the radar is always on. I put a letter that each of y'all will get a copy of. On Friday, when I get home, I see a police pulled over and giving someone a ticket. I got phone calls from all the neighbors. Hey, Terry, we got somebody to get a speeding ticket. I think your coffers would be blessed with first getting the tickets, getting them paid, and having safe travel on 3009. The third one is no notification of this TxDOT. I don't know how TxDOT can come into a city entity and not notify the people of authority that something is going to happen. This, in the letter, I write everybody's damage that has been done by the subcontractor. That tree that got hit on July the 18th also got damaged with roots. That's not Sherilyn's tree, that's the tree next door to me. Also at that accident was bloody gauze and medical leads. Who is supposed to pick up medical waste? Was it the police? Was it the ambulance? That's a liability for y'all because we have bikes that go by all the time. If they fell and got on that gauze, who's liable? So there are things that need to be addressed about procedures. And one of them is I would appreciate if somebody goes through my fence, that the police would come knock on the door and say, Ms. Jeter, here's the report number, here's the name, you can get your report, and you can do whatever necessary. That's common courtesy, and that should change. If that is a procedure that y'all have, that needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jetter. Missy Davis. The mic is still on. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. If I don't do a good job, then you can blame the new kid on the block. I'm heard it's called Councilman Smith. My name is Missy Davis, and I am the brand ambassador manager for Veteran Air Texas. We are a new business that has moved into the Garden Ridge area as of June the 5th, 2022. I don't have a complaint. I don't have a problem unless you want to come kill pigs or run them off or kill my scorpions. That seems to be my only problem here. Instead, I came to say thank you. You guys have absolutely welcomed us with open arms. You probably either heard or seen our big camo trucks driving around the neighborhoods. We're a heating and air company. I had somebody ask me one time, are you an aerospace engineering company? And I think I'm going to start saying yes, because that makes me look extremely smart. But we're not. We're a heating and air company. One of the things that I like about Veteran Air and what I do every day is to help our communities. I can't tell you anything about an air conditioner. I can tell you if it's hot, you're going to call us. You should. If it's too cold in your house, you should call us. But what I can tell you is that our goal is to give $1 million back to our community. And we're well on our way, and I hope that it's my best job to do that. So I just came to say thank you tonight, to introduce myself on behalf of our owner, Mike Anderson. We are a veteran-owned and operated company. We've been in business since 2009, but for the last 3 years, we aren't from Texas. I will say, I am. I am. We're not from Texas. We are from Orange County, California, and we will not California your Texas. I promise that. So, when I say we come here with the best intentions, with the best welcome, and the best community spirit, please take note of that, and please remember that. For the last 3 years, we've been the #1 heating and air company in Southern California. For the last 2 years, and one I'm extremely proud of, is that we've been the best small business. And that's because of our community involvement, and that's why I'm here. I just want to say thanks for welcoming us. And if you've heard screams, it's probably me and the scorpions, because we battled them somehow really bad this year. So they don't have it where I live. We live outside of Copper's Cove. So anyway, thank you so much for letting me come tonight, let me speak tonight. And we just so look forward to working with you guys. Oh, we have 5 tons. So if it floods here, y'all let us know. We can move stuff, we can clean it up, and I've got a lot of guys ready to help. And we're ready to get the show on the road. So thank you all so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, and welcome to Garden Ridge. Okay, that was all we had signed up for citizens' comments. Before we move on to item number 4, council, what I'd like to do, with some great timing on Mr. Charlie Zeck's part, I'd like to pull forward item number 8A. We're going to go out of order, but we can do that based on it is on the agenda. And we'll go forward with item 8A, approvals and authorizations and adoption of home rule charter. I'm going to receive a presentation from our city attorney, Mr. Charlie Zeck, part of the firm. Mr. Zeck, it's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for pulling me up.
It was great timing, by the way.
Greatly appreciate it. No, I'm gonna, if it's all right, I'd like to stand up. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
no, it's however you want to do it.
Okay.
You were a great MC at the Hog Wild, so
Good. Yeah, I'm glad everybody
Nice
who was
work.
there enjoyed it.
welcome,
Wonderful.
thanks for coming.
Absolutely happy to be here. This is one of my favorite things to do.
Can I give a little bit of background here, just for
Yeah,
everyone
absolutely.
to know? So at Hog Wild in July, it's a presentation that our law firm hosts every year. A lot of fun and very good, obviously great presentations and a lot of learning with the surrounding communities and cities. One of the things that Mr. Zeck and I talked about in between his emceeing was Garden Ridge's ability and prospects of becoming a home rule city rather than a general law city. Mr. Zeck's going to tell us all about the good things and bad things about that. We have heard for many years that we have to have a census population of 5,000 to be considered for home rule. That's not exactly true, and Mr. Zeck's going to tell us all about that. So, Mr. Zeck, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Very much appreciated. This is one of my favorite things to do. I've been assisting cities with the adoption, amendment, interpretation, and defense of their home rule charters for, gosh, I don't know, 15, 20 years now, I think. For purposes of the folks here and somewhat for y'all that you may not know my background on home rule charters, I got a master's degree in public administration sometime in the mid 2010s. So I think I got it in 2008 or something like that. And we had to do an applied research project for that degree. And my applied research project was an evaluation of every single home rule charter in the state of Texas. And so at that time, I reviewed every home rule charter in the state of Texas with respect to their forms of government, how they were adopted, what was in them, things of that nature. And admittedly, there was a bit of self-interest there. I thought maybe it might help me get some business, and it did, because now I've been assisting with home rule charter amendment and creation ever since that time. This year, I've done several amendments this year with cities, but I also, and this is what I love doing, and you're going to get a biased presentation with respect to the pros and cons of home rule versus general law, but I just assisted the city of Fort Stockton this year with creating their first home rule charter, which will be placed on the ballot this November. So that's kind of me and a background with respect to my experience in home rule charters. And I am biased because I believe home rule is the best way for a community to govern itself. And so making sure I'm doing this right, I guess I hit the right button to go forward. Okay, good, all right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give a very, very broad, high-level overview of the types of cities in the state of Texas. I say this because there's all sorts of details and weeds we can get into. But there are essentially two general types of cities in the state of Texas: general law, which Garden Ridge is, type A, and home rule. General law cities are called general law cities because they must look to the general laws of the state of Texas to get their authority. In other words, if it's not provided for in statute, a general law city can't do it. They must look to the general laws of the state of Texas to get authority to do anything, much like counties have to look to the general laws of the state in order to accomplish anything. One of the examples I like to give that hamstrung several general law cities, I don't know, as a great example that happened probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know if y'all remember when payday lending was a very big deal. And a lot of general law cities wanted to be able to regulate payday lenders so they couldn't gouge their citizens with very, very high interest rates and such. And home rule cities were doing it across the state of Texas. But general law cities could not do that because there was no authority in any of the statutes for a general law city to regulate payday lenders. And so the only authority that a general law city had for purposes of regulating payday lenders was through the zoning statute, Chapter 211 of the Local Government Code, building codes through your building code authority, and through your subdivision regulations. That was essentially your authority. And so that's just one example of where you would like to have some regulatory authority to protect your community and to protect your citizens and your taxpayers, but the authority just did not exist. And so there are 3 different types of cities. I'm not going to get into the distinguishing differences between them, but it's basically type A, type B, and type C, and they're all found, their authority and how their government is created is all found in the Texas Local Government Code. The fact that you have 5 council members and a mayor is because Texas law says in the general statutes that a type A general law city has 5 council members and a mayor. It's a council, under the statutes, it's a council manager form of government, and the authority given to the mayor is that authority that is provided for that you adopt locally. And that can change instantly depending on the council. And unless you adopt by election a council manager form of government, and have y'all, I can't remember if y'all have done that, so y'all haven't done that. So it's still a council mayor form of government, but we have adopted a city administrator, we have, by ordinance, created a position for city administrator who runs the day-to-day activities. So those are really high level, that's general law cities. And general law cities are typically under 5,000 in population. There are some general law cities who are over 5,000 in population, but not a whole lot of them. And the reason for that is because once a city gets the population of over 5,000, they generally like to adopt a home rule charter. The difference between a home rule city, a city that adopts a charter, and a general law city is tremendous. So instead of having to look to the general laws and statutes that the legislature adopts, those folks in Austin that you may or may not like, depending on a variety of different decisions that they make, instead of having to look to them for your authority, as a home rule city, you only look to them for areas where you have been preempted or otherwise prohibited from acting or regulating. And admittedly, that's becoming more and more and more because there seems to be an attack on cities from the Texas legislature because apparently those folks in Austin think they know what's best for the city of Garden Ridge rather than the city of Garden Ridge elected officials and their own citizens knowing what's best for the city of Garden Ridge. That said, home rule city has all the authority of the Texas legislature except where obviously preempted by the Texas legislature or otherwise prohibited by the Constitution of the state of Texas or federal requirements, federal laws. And so once you reach a population of 5,000, you are eligible to adopt a home rule charter. The mayor mentioned earlier that there was this idea that you had to have a census that said you had a population of 5,000. That is not accurate. It's simply, and I don't have it memorized, but essentially you just have to establish a population of 5,000. That can be done by any number of ways. The most common way is to look at that census number that says what's the average number of people within a household in the city of Garden Ridge, multiply that by the number of utility connections that you have, and if you've got multifamily housing, take that into consideration. If you got some folks that are on septic, take that into on wells, take that into consideration, and come up with a defensible number. And if you're there, you can start the process. Even if you're not there now, you can still start the process so long as when you hold the election, you are over that 5,000 threshold population. And feel free to stop me at any point and ask any questions. So anything at this point with respect to? All right. So that's a very high level overview of general law and home rule. So how do you adopt a home rule charter? Well, as I said initially, first have that population of 5,000, determine that population threshold. Then Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 9, is what dictates, thank you very much, you know me too well. That dictates how we adopt a charter and the process for doing so, all right? So Section 9.02 says there are essentially 3 different ways that you can determine whether or not to adopt a home rule charter. Number 1 is the council may, by ordinance, by a 2/3 vote of the council, order an election to be held, shall a commission be chosen to frame the new charter. So essentially you can have an election to decide whether or not a commission should be formed to frame a new charter. That's one way. The second way is if you get a petition of 10% of the qualified voters of the city who submits that petition to the city council and says, we would like a charter commission formed, then you have to form a charter commission. The third way is city council can choose on its own initiative to form a charter commission and put together a home rule charter. So those are the 3 ways. Election to determine whether you should do so, a petition requiring to do so, or on your own initiative, just creating the commission. So once that charter commission is formed, and once that charter commission goes through the process of creating a charter, it is then brought to city council, and city council has a ministerial meaning you have to, requirement to then order the election on the charter. City council doesn't get to make any changes to the charter. City council doesn't get to send it back and say, we don't like it. So once that charter commission that is appointed brings that charter forward as the proposed charter, council must order the election, regardless of the way that the commission was formed, even if it was done on your own initiative. Does that make sense? So some things to consider if we decide that we would like to put a charter commission together. The size of the commission, you don't want it too big, you don't want it too small. You want to make sure you've got the appropriate stakeholders of your community that sit on that charter commission. You need to decide, how is that charter commission going to be appointed? There's a variety of ways that you can do that. Let me back up. My personal opinion on the size of a charter commission is 13 to 17 folks. Anything larger than that becomes rather unwieldy, complicated, and hard. As you know, putting a quorum together, right, can be difficult. Even with 5 of you, imagine the difficulty of putting together a quorum if there's, 23, 27 people on a commission. So it's really not small when there's 13 to 17 people, but a medium-sized group of community stakeholders, residents of the community, is usually what I recommend for any charter commission, whether it's the creation of the first charter or a review of the charter for proposing amendments. How you select that commission can be done any number of ways. Council members can each bring forward, say it's 13 folks. Each council commissioner can bring forward, and the mayor can bring forward 2, and they're just by acclamation appointed. You can do, everybody's got to be approved completely by the city council. However you want to do it. There's a variety of ways, by application, by interview, just a variety of different ways to make the decision on how that commission should be appointed. Just briefly, timeline, on your very first charter commission, 6 to 8 months is, depending on how often they meet and how diligent they are in the process and where we're starting from, is usually the amount of time that's going to be necessary to put that commission together for purposes of getting it completed. I think something got taken out of here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it got included. I don't know what happened. So there is oh, no, it's there. All right, there it is. So basically, the law says that in order to vote on the charter, the election has to be held on a uniform election date, just like any other election. It has to allow sufficient time to comply with the other requirements of the law, and that occurs on or after the 40th day, the date of the Charter Commission completes its work. Essentially, that means the Charter Commission has to finalize its work essentially 72 days before any uniform election date, because that's, as a general matter, the requirements of state law. That's the deadline for ordering the election, 72 days prior to the election. And so that's what you would be shooting for, to have the Charter Commission finish its work before that time period. And then there's some requirements after the Charter Commission completes its work. You have to mail a copy of the charter, of the proposed charter, to every single resident. So there's some expense there, which is a physical copy of the charter.
Every single registered voter, right?
Every single registered voter.
Okay.
Yes, every single one. The Charter Commission the statute says the Charter Commission shall prepare the charter to the extent practicable that each subject may be voted on separately. In theory, that sounds good, but in practice, most charters, initial charters, are created where they want everything to work together. Every part of the charter works together. Leaving one part of the charter out may not work perfectly if it's left out. There are some sections of charter that perhaps could be set out separately, but that doesn't usually happen. And then, as I stated, the council must order the election on the charter proposed by the commission. So what do we put in our charter? What are we looking to do? So if you look at if you go online, if you go to Muni Code or Franklin Code, and you go to the cities that have home rule charters and you pull up their charters, a great many of them are still very, very long and very, very detailed. They list all sorts of powers, they list all sorts of specifics, and that's because they haven't been looked at or amended in 30, 40 years. So home rule is, in the context of time, is still a relatively new concept in the state of Texas. It was not even authorized to be a home rule city until 1920. So what is that, about 100 years now? So back in the early part of the 19th century, when we were adopting home rule charters in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, there wasn't a lot of clarity with respect to what it meant to be home rule and what that authority was. And so what cities would do is when they were going from general law to home rule, they would just throw everything and the kitchen sink into their charter. We have power to do this, we have power to do that, we have to do this, we can do that. None of that is necessary anymore. I actually recommend when we do when I assist clients with amendments to their charters, that we take out all sorts of things. Because really nowadays, the only thing you need for purposes of authority in your charter is a statement that you have all the authority authorized under law. And that covers everything. You don't have to put in there, we have authority and control over our streets. We have control and authority over predatory lending within our community. You don't have to put any of that in the charter. A simple statement that you have all the authority as authorized under Texas law with respect to home rule is enough, and that shortens a lot of charters. So you want to put that in there. I recommend that if you want to put limitations, if the community wants limitations on some of the authority, you would put that in there. That's the place where that would go, those limitations. You're going to want to have in there your form of government. Are you going to continue with a council mayor form of government with a city administrator, or are you going to adopt a form of government that is consistent with how it currently operates, which is essentially a council manager form of government? Are you going to give the mayor the right to vote? Does the mayor want the right to vote? Talk to a bunch of different mayors and you're going to get different answers on those questions. Unfortunately, Mayor, you don't get to make that decision. A charter commission would make that decision for the community, and then ultimately the community would vote on it. So, do you want 5 council members? Do you want 6 council members and a mayor? Do you want 5 council members and the mayor? Does the mayor have the right to vote? Those types of things. Do you want a commission form of government? Don't recommend that, but all of those are things that would go into, okay, throwing out all the general laws, what is as a community, what is the perfect form of government for the city of Garden Ridge? And what is the authority of the council members? Should it be by place? Are 2-year terms, correct? Do you want to have 3-year terms? Do you want to have 4-year terms? Both of those are options in your charter. You can make those decisions. Do you want to have term limits? Those are considerations that you place in a charter. If you do have term limits, should those term limits be for life? The city of New Braunfels says you can serve, I think, 2 full terms. You can sit out a term, serve another term, and then after that term, you're done for life. Works pretty well for a city of 100,000, right? Not so much for a city of 5 to 10,000, because sometimes you just run out of people who are willing to serve, right? And then there's arguments that every time you have an election, that's actually term limits, right? Because you can be voted in and out of office at any time. So those are all discussions that a home rule charter committee would have, on your form of government. Do you want to have initiative, referendum, or recall? Currently, a general law city does not have any of those. There's no authority in the general laws of Texas for a general law city to have initiative, referendum, and recall. Charlie, what's initiative, referendum, and recall? Recall, I think, stands for itself, right? Recall is the authority of the citizens to file a petition with the city council to recall a particular council member for reasons that are then stated in the charter for recall. Initiative and referendum. So initiative is the power of the citizens to initiate a petition to request city council to adopt legislation, an ordinance. And typically how that works is the citizens get a petition together. They say, here is the ordinance we want city council to adopt. And city council can either adopt or refuse to adopt the ordinance. If city council refuses to adopt the ordinance, it is then typically, there's a variety of ways for these to work, but one way is that if they refuse the petition, then it is required to go on the ballot for the citizens to then vote, should this ordinance be adopted or rejected. I've recently been hired by the city of El Paso to assist with an initiative petition that was recently filed with their community. They have a two-step process in their charter that says, first, you have to get a certain number of folks to sign the petition to take to city council. If city council refuses to adopt the ordinance, then they have to get a second petition to bring that forward in order to force the election. So there's a variety of different ways you can handle that. A referendum, on the other hand, is when city council adopts legislation and the citizens believe it's not an appropriate legislation to be adopted. And so, again, they could bring a petition forward asking city council to repeal the legislation. And if they don't, then it would go on the ballot for the citizens to decide whether or not that legislation should be repealed. Now, there are some limitations on initiative and referendum that are in the law. I'm not going to get into the details of any of that, but just understand that initiative and referendum, while not a power granted to your citizens, to the citizens of Garden Ridge, your constituents is what I should say, and to the citizens of Garden Ridge under the general laws. And if the power is granted and not all charters have initiative, referendum, or recall, right? There's lots of policy pros and cons associated with the decisions on initiative and referendum and recall, honestly, especially with 2-year terms on recall. That said, there are limitations in state law on the power of initiative and referendum. So it can't be, we want you to adopt an ordinance to fire the city administrator. Nope. No, you can't do that. We want you to adopt an ordinance to rezone this property a certain way. Nope, can't do that. All right. I'm not going to go into all of them, but just understand that there are some limitations, even though it's a power that's granted to your constituents and to the citizens. Again, we talked about term limits. Council pay is always a big deal. Should we pay our city council? Should they get some minimum amount of dollars? That's always something that's discussed. Those are the sort of the major things that are always in discussion when it comes to home rule charters. You'll see in some charters that they've got a whole section on elections. Don't recommend that, other than where you want to set out your specific requirements on age for running for council. You have some flexibility in determining how old you have to be to run for council, 18 to 21, all right? How long you have to live within the community before you're eligible to become a candidate. You have some flexibility in that. But other than those two things, there's really no reason to have a bunch of election rules and regulations within your charter. Why? State law governs all those things and prohibits for us from making regulations that differ from state law. So that's the long and short of it on charters. Mayor, you said I'm going to give the pros and cons. I'm biased, all right, but I don't think there are any cons in adopting a home rule charter. The reason is, for the most part, we get Austin out of our backyard. We don't have to look to the general laws as to how our community should look, how our form of government should look, how our council should look, and how we should regulate ourselves. That is something the community gets to decide. And I can't think of anything better than having the community decide how it wants to govern itself. It gives you broader powers to protect your community with regulatory authority that you don't have as a general law city. The example I gave being predatory lending being one thing. And there's just no con. I'm sure people can come up with one, but in my mind, there just isn't. The power of the citizens of your community to determine its form of government and how it wants to regulate and govern itself is powerful. And once given the opportunity to do so, I think they should take advantage of it. But again, that's just my own humble opinion after 20-some-odd years of representing local governments. It's ultimately up for your community to decide. Because I have represented communities where we have put together charters, and those twice since I've been doing this, where those charters have been rejected by the citizens. And it's usually over some small little piece in the charter that just folks just didn't like, and so they rejected the whole charter as a result. But it does happen. I've seen it happen twice. So that's all I have on my presentation. I am absolutely happy to answer questions, to chat, but you've got a long agenda, so.
Charlie, thank you so much. Detailed and succinct presentation. We appreciate that.
You bet.
When we talked back in July, we talked a little bit of time frame. Our next general election, if the council so chose to go along this route, is the Saturday, the 6th of May. And you said,
That would
you
be
asked.
tight.
We're tight, but
It could be done, but it's
doable.
tight.
You had said 6 to 8 months, and we're right at 8 months yesterday.
Yep, yeah. It would be tight.
Okay.
It would just mean that folks would have to, folks that you, if you decided to do it, and folks you appointed would have to be willing to knuckle down, meet, a couple times a month and really put the work in. And, it also depends, are they willing to start from an existing document that is sort of got boilerplate things in it, and then just deal with the heavy lifting parts of that, or do they want to start from scratch and just do every single?
I would think not reinventing the wheel would be a good thing.
There are provisions that are, in my mind, are pretty boilerplate. It's just the heavy lifting on your form of government, term limits, things like that take up the bulk of folks' time and discussion.
Okay, if the council so chose to proceed forward, what would be our next step? We have this in approvals and authorizations to be able to act on it tonight. So what would be our next step?
So council someone would make a motion, someone second it, to initiate the process for the creation of a home rule charter commission. That would be the first step, and then the next step would be formulating that commission and determining how you wanted to do that. And
Okay.
putting that commission, and then appointing that commission, and then after that, it's just having the meetings with the commission and putting that charter together.
And we had also talked nuts and bolts about how much this would cost the city, and we had said somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000,
Yeah,
correct?
depending on, yeah, absolutely, especially, well, since I'm right here, I'm assuming, I make the assumption that you want the lawyer at the meetings, because the last thing you want to do is put together a charter commission that puts together things that are just not legal.
Right.
While you may appoint folks to this commission that have experience and knowledge in your community, which is important, and they should, what they usually don't have is a full understanding of local government and the options and what should go in that charter and the best practices associated with those things. So I make the assumption you're going to want the lawyer at the meeting, and so you're looking at $15,000 to $20,000
Okay.
costs, legal costs.
You bet. Thank you. A couple comments, if I may, before I turn it to council for questions from both you and Cynthia, if you will. So you know the background of Charlie and I having a conversation at Hog Wild. That's why he's here. That's why he's here in September, so that we could present this to you, and if you so choose, to get it moving quickly. We're right at, Charlie had said 6 to 8 months if we act fast, based on how many times a month a charter commission would meet and how diligent they are. We're right there yesterday at 8 months from the election. But if you back it up, we have to petition for the election for the charter for 72 days prior. So they have to have everything done
Yeah, before
72 days prior to the
February-
election.
February something would be my guess.
So we're right at 6 months. So we'd have to act fast. Budget-wise, we have a lean but very balanced and efficient budget. Because of our tax rate that we all passed last Monday, a week ago Monday, we are able to lower taxes, lower the tax rate, yet still increase our income in the city by a small amount. We do have money in the budget for fiscal year '23 to allocate $15,000 to $20,000 for this endeavor. Some more background from my perspective. 51 years ago, members of this community, prior to becoming a city, Paul Davis, Ramona Banfield, Ramona Miller, Harold Miller, got together and saw the encroachment coming from San Antonio and from our neighbor Schertz at the time. And they said, you know what, it's only a matter of time before San Antonio, Schertz, and New Braunfels expand and see Garden Ridge with an appetite to bring us into their ETJ and annex us before we were even a city. We hired a city attorney, or before we were a city, we hired legal counsel to help us with that. And we filed in court to petition to become a city 12 hours prior to the city of Schertz wanting to annex this area. 12 hours. And think if that wouldn't have happened. Think about that, 50 years ago, right? So I'm not saying we're there again, but we are the only general law city surrounded by home rule cities 365 degrees. San Antonio, Schertz, Cibolo, Selma, New Braunfels, Spring Branch, Bulverde, again, San Antonio. We are completely surrounded, and we are general law A. And we have an opportunity here to do something similar to what we did 50 years ago, to take in our own hands, our own control for the citizens of Garden Ridge to decide what's best for Garden Ridge, and not just our elected officials up in Austin. We get to decide. And to me, that's worth the time and effort for council to proceed quickly on this with all due haste. We have the money. I think it's money well spent. We'll have to think about the commission. They're going to have to meet often and be very diligent. Members of this dais will be on that commission. And I think we should proceed forward. I think we need to act, and I think we need to act now. If you have questions or comments, go for it. Kelly,
Everything you said.
any questions for Charlie, Zach, or Cynthia? Okay, Lisa.
I was going to say I'm good. I didn't need the convincing, but you put it over the top.
Rob Erickson, right? Jesse.
I have one question, but it's for Marissa. It's, so we talked about the budget, 15 to 20,000 for the legal fees. What about the mailing fees? What are we talking about for mailing? What, we need to include that in the budget also?
I have no idea. It depends on how long the charter is.
how
If we
many
do have to
pages it
mail a
is?
physical copy to every person, that would be probably a pretty significant cost, but I'm not sure.
Could be several thousand, right? So we
Yeah,
need
it'll be-
we need to
it'll
crank
be-
that
it'll be
in that number too, is what I'm
Probably
saying.
close to 5,000, probably.
5,000?
I don't know what,
Yeah, that's what I was guessing, around
How many registered voters do we have now, Marissa?
3,000, something like
At least
Yeah,
3,000,
We have at least
3,200.
3,000, yeah, maybe 3,500.
that. Can you mail one copy to a married couple? We have
Yeah.
to mail one each one?
No, it has to, if
Each-
they're both registered, it's
Each
one
person.
copy.
Not per household.
It's
It's
not
gotta be
one per household, it's
That doubles-
every
that could
registered
double,
voter.
triple
So
the
if there's
cost.
3 registered voters in a household, 3
Yeah.
copies are
So-
mailed to that household.
Anyway, I just want to, my point is we gotta include that in the budget as well.
I think that we probably have enough money within the budget to cover the mailing expenses. They may have to come from other line items, but I
Okay.
think we can manage. We can handle that, not a problem.
I agree.
I'm okay with
And
it.
for whatever it's worth, although it doesn't help you, I guess, with respect to your actual dollars spent, but because we're the city attorney, you get the incredibly reduced rate for my time and services. My rate for this type of stuff, if you're not the city attorney that we represent, is $375 to $425 an hour. And I don't know what we're billing you, but it's a whole lot less than that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jesse. Christine, you can give me a head nod. Any questions, any concerns about that with mailing? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Nancy. Jesse, anything else? Todd?
I don't think you need to ask me what I think of this. I've been hoping to get this done since I got on council, what was that, 8, 10 years ago? So it is important. I've looked into it for years. We need to do this.
Thanks, Todd. Kay?
First of all, Rob, I'd like to know how you really feel about this. But also, I think it's a great idea, and we can look forward now, start planning our 100th anniversary with Nancy in charge.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you, Kay. Cynthia, what do we need to do next?
Say welcome, Charlie, to the world of creating a charter for us.
Okay, so we need a motion
And a
to,
second and a vote, yeah.
a motion to proceed with all due haste with a home rule charter for the city of Garden Ridge. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
a motion, a motion to appoint a home rule charter commission should be sufficient, and a second and a vote, and then after that, Cynthia will work with Nancy and staff to bring forward options for appointment of that commission.
Okay. Council,
Do you want,
go.
I move that this council begin the process of appointing a commission to establish a home rule for the city of Garden Ridge.
We have a motion to establish a charter commission for home rule of Garden Ridge. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Charlie, thank you.
Yes, thank you
Look forward to
very much.
working more with you.
Yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate the confidence. And it's not often I feel very comfortable with my back to an audience, but when I'm talking about this stuff, I do. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate you being here. Okay.
I'm going to leave now.
See ya. See ya. Okay, outstanding. We will move back to item number 4, the consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Council, does anybody have anything you want pulled from this month's consent agenda? Nobody? Okay, if there's nothing to pull from this month's consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda?
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, staff reports. 5A, city administrator monthly activity report. Nancy, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor. We have one thank you that was directed to Officer McKenzie. We had a family that was out of town, had turned in an out-of-town notice to the police department. The police officer, or Officer McKenzie, went to do the house check and found that there were some doors that had not been secured. So he was able to secure the doors. And the family wanted to pass their sincere thanks and appreciation to Officer McKenzie for his service on that day, as well as state that it was a blessing to have Officer McKenzie and the entire Garden Ridge Police Department. They send their deep thanks and appreciation to all. The next thing we have is employee anniversaries. The first one is Jill Wollensen, 4 years. And then Keith Osborne for 6 years. Thank you. Okay, continuing on. We have a total of 313 volunteer hours in the city this month. The library had 168 volunteer hours. The Parks Committee had a total of 101. Bill stuffing was 3 hours, and the families of Garden Ridge volunteered 41 hours, totaling 313. Families of Garden Ridge, again, had 41 hours of volunteer service with 16 people and the collection of 35 bags of trash along 2252. There are two things, one thing that I want to update council on. The day after our August council meeting, Councilman Valdez and I met with the Director of External Affairs for AT&T to find out a little bit more about what occurred with the AT&T outage. Apparently, there was some circuit equipment in their central office located at the Auditorium Circle in downtown San Antonio that was very old, and apparently there were some fuses that were blown in that equipment. When they discovered what the problem was, the problem with the equipment, it took 3 weeks to get the equipment parts delivered because of the supply chain problems, as well as the equipment's age. There were 15 customers affected by the outage, and all 15 customers have been credited their accounts have been credited for that period of time when they did not have service. AT&T went ahead and performed those credits, so the customers do not have to contact AT&T to get those credits. The first, where is it? The first trouble ticket was created on May 23rd, and the repair was completed on July 12th. We now have contact information of actually about 5 different individuals with AT&T. Should we have any problems in the future, I feel very comfortable that we will have a little bit better response than what we have had during this situation. But I wanted to follow up with y'all to let y'all know what we were able to find out that had occurred. Also, in the time I've been here in Garden Ridge, this upcoming October 5th through 7th will be the very first time that Garden Ridge will have ever had any representation at TML's annual conference that's going to be held here in San Antonio. So I think that's a huge stride that's been taken. And I have nothing else to comment unless y'all have questions.
Thanks, Nancy, and thanks to the council members that are available that are going to represent Garden Ridge at TML. I think that's a wonderful thing. Nancy, can we talk about, in your report, speaking of stuff, since we worked with AT&T, can we talk about all our work in the last month with TxDOT and trying to figure out what is going on 3009?
Yes.
ahead.
The city of Garden Ridge was not informed by TxDOT of the fiber optic cable that's being laid on behalf of Verizon. The city was not aware of that project. TxDOT does not have to contact us. It would be a nice courtesy, but they don't have to contact us because it is their right-of-way. When we noticed that there were some things that didn't seem quite right on 3009, about the time that we started having contact from the citizens along 3009. Stephen and I got together, and I asked Stephen to get a hold of the job foremans and let's set up a meeting so we can discuss what's going on and pass on the complaints and concerns that we were receiving here, and let them know also that what we were seeing was absolutely not acceptable. We met with the owner of the construction company. There were actually 4 gentlemen that we met with. The first thing that they were informed that they had to do was they had to put up some stormwater protection, I'm going to call it infrastructure, even though it's maybe netting, it may be hay bales, but they had to put that up. if they did not put it up and we were foreseeing some rain, we gave them until, this was on Wednesday, we gave them until, was it Thursday morning? Yeah, maybe it was more like a day and a half. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the dates. We gave them a day and a half to get all that stormwater protection placed in place. And with that, they had to remove all of the brush, a lot of the rock, and start getting things cleaned up. It does look a lot better out there. They are not finished with the project. Stephen is keeping a very close eye on them, and I do believe Stephen has made contact with several residents that were concerned about the project. Stephen, what else am I missing? Stephen?
You're on.
Okay. Yeah, I met with several residents, let them know that we were watching them, that we were gonna actually make sure that they come back and rake up rocks and clean up their mess. Talked to them about with concerns with oak trees. From my understanding, they're gonna try to do the rest of the project drilling underground instead of trenching with one of the big rock saws. What else? But yeah, we're just basically keep a constant eye on them. They have to go through our easements where our water mains are, so we keep special close eye on them with that. I believe last I heard, they got about 3,000 feet left to go before they're out of our city limits, or out of the area that's most of concern instead of the residential area.
Thanks, Stephen. So we're going to depend on, we're only so big of a city with so many employees, so we're going to depend on our residents to take lots of pictures, document as much as you can, and then bring that to us, bring it to the city, and we're going to keep that and use that. I did talk to our direct representative from TxDOT, and he informed me, like Nancy said, hey, we have no requirement to let you know what we're going to do in our right-of-way. And I said, okay, you obviously know that's not acceptable. Let's talk as Texas gentlemen here and residents of this community, and let's do better. I mean, come on, just a phone call is all we need to let us know what's going on. He agreed to that. I'm going to follow up with that with him and his supervisors. So let us know, keep us informed. We appreciate that. You guys are our eyes and ears out there. And we're only so many employees, and there's only so much we can do, but keep us informed, document it all, and give us that ammunition to go back. They're supposed to leave it as good, if not better, is what the contract says, than they found it. So good luck with that. Let us know how it goes. Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome, Mayor.
Okay, anything else? Great. We'll go on to 5B, Finance HR Monthly Activity Report. Ms. Christine.
Thank you, Mayor. Within the HR department, the city is still actively recruiting patrol officers and an assistant city secretary communication specialist. All of our available positions are posted to the city's website. Within finance, we're continuing to prepare for our audit and gearing up for year end, which is within about 3 weeks. And that's really all I've got.
Thank you, Christine. Council, any questions for Finance HR? No? Okay, great. We'll go on to Marissa, item C, City Secretary. The floor is yours, ma'am.
So one thing that I wanted to highlight in my report is just to remind council of the crisis communications tabletop that DFW Strategic Communications will be conducting for city staff that is part of the crisis communications plan and for city council on Wednesday, September 28th in here from 9 to 1. We hope that all council members are able to attend. And the other thing that I wanted to make sure council was aware of, I sent an email out about the deer counts. A lot of residents probably don't know, so we're continuing with the deer counts. We've already done one of them, in which we had one council member participate and a council member's wife. Thank you, actually. And there's another one later this week, and then the third one is next week. For the one next week, we still need to fill one slot. We reached out to the current Wildlife Management Advisory Commission, and we're able to get 2 people from that commission to sign up for the different counts, but we still need to fill one position for next week. So I was hoping that a council member would be able to fill it Thursday, September 15th at 6:25 for the deer count. So we still need someone to fill that. That's all I have.
Thanks, Marissa. Anybody have questions for Marissa? Volunteers? Okay, Chief, we'll move on to item 5D, Police Department Monthly Activity Report. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. Most everything that I need to report is in the monthly report. I did pull some stats since we've been talking about water. Of those 36 ordinance violations, 17 of those were related to water. So a couple of things that are not on here, though. It keeps flashing, but maybe it'll come back on.
This has 2 batteries in it.
It's going out. Some things I wanted to add to this that are not in there are upcoming events. We have Pizza with the Police on September 21st. That will be here in the council chambers that we do twice a year. No agendas, just come on out, have a chat, have some pizza. We have National Night Out coming out first Tuesday in October, October the 4th. Big event. Everybody in the city is invited. We'll have that up at the community center. And then the following day, we will be prepping for the homecoming parade for Davenport. So it'll be busy. One thing I do want to touch on that is on here is I appreciate everybody taking the time to come out for the active shooter tabletop exercise that we had. I hope it was informative. I have gotten a little bit of feedback, but if anybody has any specific questions on any notes they took that day, come see me and we can talk about it. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Chief. A couple of comments. Thanks for what you did for the active shooter exercise that we had. You ran with it, you planned it. You got all the right people and community members and first responders involved, and you brought them in here. It was extremely well done, very professional, and very, very informative. And thanks for doing that. Some of you were able to attend. Some of the things that we learned, again, there's no doubt in my mind that our first responders, God forbid something like an active shooter, real world situation happens, I have no doubt that our first responders, our police department, if they are first on the scene, will neutralize the threat and then proceed to take care of the wounded and casualties and go from there. I have no questions. What it did allude to was a lot of questions on what is our role as a city in the aftermath of that, and what is our role as council and the mayor in the aftermath of that. And that's stuff that we're going to discuss on Wednesday the 28th with our crisis communication tabletop with DFW Stratcom. We had a meeting with a week ago yesterday, with all city employees and staff, and talked about some of the results of that active shooter exercise, what our role as city employees is and are, where we need to go in case something happens, what we need to lock down, and if you're not here, we rally either at Paul Davis Park or over in Trophy Oaks. So, Chief, I can't tell you and Lieutenant Dan how appreciative we are of your leadership, both of you, and what you did. So thank you. And that's coming from the principals that were here too. So obviously the principal of Garden Ridge Elementary School and Principal Deloach from Davenport High School. So
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody have anything for the Chief? Outstanding. Okay, Stephen, on to 5E, Public Works. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the month of August, Public Works Department completed 363 tasks. We recorded .93 inches of rain up at our shop during that one day of rainfall. For drainage maintenance include mowing 3 drainages and cleaning out 3 drainage culverts. Street maintenance included street repairs on Old Nacogdoches Road, Benzal, and sign maintenance on Bat Cave. The Bat Cave sign maintenance was the no-through truck traffic in that key area where trucks might want to go to get to that new construction site farther down the road. Building maintenance, replaced the ice machine at the community center, fan motor on a chiller plant, and minor maintenance at the rental properties. On August 24th, we did get called out to check out a suspicious tree on Sumac Cove. So after I went out there and checked it out, I called Robert Edmondson with the Texas Forestry Service to come out here and follow up to see if I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. He came out on the 24th and he confirmed that it did indeed have oak wilt. While we were there, the homeowners were present. He explained everything that they needed to do to start treating trees, and we have to have a meeting with people in the area that are going to be infected by the oak wilt trench and let them know about what's going to be expected, state and city reimbursements for trenching cooperation. And basically following up from there, after that, we would have to go and hire a contractor. City will probably take point on it. I'll take point on it because more than likely we'll have a trench that goes through one of our streets. And yeah, first we have to get the meeting started, and that will be the first part of it, and then everything else will kind of follow after that. For animal services, we currently have 7 dogs ready for adoption, and we trapped 5 wild hogs in August in Trophy Oaks. That's all I have for the Public Works.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, anything for Stephen on Public Works before we move on to water? Okay, you can keep on going. Thanks.
For Edwards, for the month of August, we pumped 7.2 acre feet, which brings our yearly pumpage to 237.47 acre feet. Acre feet available was 325.24. Trinity, we pumped 102 acre feet, which brings our total for the year of 540.83 acre feet. Water quality, all the samples we take came back good for the month, the required samples. Water loss, we only had 4% water loss. For the year, it's 5%. National average is about 16%. AMI notifications. August, we had total notifications, 272, and that is down 2,000 from July. Automatic draft customers is down 1. AMI customer portal profiles is up 11. Abnormal usage is down 187. Continuous flow is down 8. Leak info code is down 148. Usage trend is down 99. Stage 2 alerts down 1,600 from July. So we're seeing a decreased usage. With that, as you know, for the last couple of months, we have been scaling back on our pumping of the Edwards Aquifer due to restrictions. We lose about, in stage 2, we lose about 0.62 acre feet a day. So when we saw that, we decided we needed to start conserving a little bit just in case we have an emergency. We still have, currently we still have quite a bit acre feet left. If we were to use basically 1.9 acre feet a day till the end of, till about December 31st, we'd have a reserve of 20 acre feet, which is still pretty good. Now that we're getting into winter months, historical data shows that people use less water during the winter months. So, for instance, for the last couple of months, our average daily pumpage would be about 1 million or above. End of August into September, we've had under 1 million pumpage for the daily pumpage. So my recommendation is that we start pumping more Edwards water daily. And with that said, I think we don't need to go into any further stages for the rest of the year.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate your report. Before I talk, council, anything for Stephen? Down the road? Jesse, do you want to add to the stage 3 calculations? Please.
Okay, so, yeah, so last week I had done an analysis of Stephen's monthly reports and came up with basically what Stephen just covered. If we stayed at the current rate of using 7 to 10 acre feet a month, we end up with over 200 acre feet at the end of the year. And last year we ended up at 189 acre feet, and I'm concerned that, you know, we keep leaving that much water on the table that Edwards will change our allotment. So I recommended to Stephen and the mayor to increase that pumpage. I added a calculation to the worksheet that gives them an average of what it needs to run daily, 1.9. We've been pumping that much, so the numbers increased to 1.95 now, as of today, so we need to increase that. Since December and November, December really get down to about that total, about 2 acre feet a day. We probably need to increase September and October to 2.5 to 3, and then taper down in the end of the year. I know you're gonna be looking at working on the wells on here at the municipal wells here, one of them in October anyway, so that'll help with having to go to the Edwards. So again, that's the calculation I added to the list. And like Stephen said, the reduction from July to August went down 6.7 million gallons, 16% reduction. So that was a real significant reduction. Even though I think there was a major leak, one of our businesses found out. But like Stephen said, there was I think only 3 or 4 days over millions in the last 18 days. So the rain and the cool temperatures have helped significantly, but that'll continue on the rest of the year. If you go to this, yeah, thank you. You had the chart up. If you look at our August from August of last year to December, that line keeps, the blue line tapers down. So that's what we're looking at again, probably looking at for this year. And again, based on that numbers that we have that much water, my recommendation was to stage 2 for now. Don't go into stage 3. And then also what helped that decision was when I looked at the watering calendar. If we did go to stage 3, we only end up with 1 week of no watering, and I didn't like that you have 3 weeks of watering in a month and add a surcharge to it was not a good idea for our customers. So that also helped in changing that, making that recommendation. So that pretty well summarizes it.
Thank you, Jesse. Council, anything else for Jesse and or Stephen? Let's concentrate on the graph up behind us. I just want to thank everybody, our residents and our customers out there, because we went into stage 2 July 4th-ish, and you can see the overall trend. We have come down. So I appreciate everyone out there, our residents and customers, for honoring that and abiding by that. If you drive around the city of Garden Ridge, you see very few lawns that are green anymore. If you drive by my lawn, it's pretty much dead, a little bit green. Hopefully it's just dormant. So I appreciate everybody's efforts out there at water conservation. We've been good stewards with our Trinity Aquifer, what we pull out of there, and we've been great stewards with managing the Edwards Aquifer. So based on ordinance number 61 and your thoughtful daily reports to myself, to Nancy, to Jesse Valdez, and to Chairman Mueller for the Water Commission. Stephen, thank you so much. And I approve the recommendation to not go into stage 3 based on the authority granted by Ordinance 61 to the mayor. We won't enter stage 3 come September 23rd. So we will stay in stage 2 until we get further recommendations from the Water Commission, from you and Jesse. So everybody good with that? Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, Jesse. And thank you, Garden Ridge. All right, on to 5F, Library Monthly Activity Report. Ms. Crosland, the floor is yours, ma'am. Introductions? Yay.
Good evening. There she is. When Wendy Bippert turned in her resignation, I was surprised and dismayed. I didn't know how on earth we could go on with all the library programs without help, and I knew how hard it was to find people to hire. But within hours after Marissa posted the position, a very excellent young woman came in with her application, and it turns out that she had been a volunteer when she was in high school. Every time she would come, we would go away going, she is wonderful. She's incredible. And she knows how to do Lego robotics already. She's quite special. When she applied, she was working 40 hours a week full-time, going to college full-time, and maintaining a 4.0. Oh, and by the way, she teaches Sunday school. So I want you to meet Patricia Ann Woodward, and she does go by Patricia Ann. Patricia Ann, I want to introduce you to the council, starting with Mayor Rob Erickson, Place 1 Council Member Kelly Smith, Place 2 Lisa Swint, who is also Mayor Pro Tem, Place 3 Jesse Valdez, you met his wife yesterday, Place 4 is Todd Arvidson, and Place 5 is Kay Bauer. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And she's going to leave because she's going to lead a girls group at Northeast Bible Church now. Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you here. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
And I guess since I have the microphone warmed up, I'll
Keep
finish
going.
my report here. September is National Library Sign-Up Card. Would you believe there are people in Garden Ridge who don't have library cards? However, this is, as incredible as that is, this is the month to right that wrong. They're free, they provide years of entertainment, and they're non-fattening. On one page, I have included some information just for your edification, statistics about libraries. I thought there were a couple of kind of astounding ones. There are more public libraries than McDonald's in the U.S., and I love that. And we don't even serve French fries. But Americans spend 3 times more on candy than they do on libraries. I don't understand that. I kind of doubt that, but that's what they tell us. There's really nothing to read into this, but I thought there were some interesting things to know. As I did mention in my report, we've had a very successful outreach at Sodales home. I always call it a home. I go there every Thursday morning, and I read to a little group of people, and they've been very receptive. Here is the mayor of Sodales. I don't know how you get to be the mayor, but he's a very outgoing and forceful person. And then there's a fun resident, Mr. Michael. He just was having a good time that day. And then after we read completely To Kill a Mockingbird, we showed the movie, so there's a little group. Don't show the next one yet. To mark the end of our summer reading program, we had like a special celebration, and it was interactive movie night, which we did right here. We showed the old Willy Wonka movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's a time when you stop the movie and you do certain things. Everybody had some props, and when the bad guy came, they all got to throw paper at the villain. or the little girl who popped her gum all the time, we had bubble wrap. And when the boy drank the chocolate river, we had little boxes of chocolate Yoo-hoo, so they had a good time. And we got a lot of compliments. It was a lot of fun. Okay, now you can show. Wendy is here as an adorable Willy Wonka. And then if you thought my appearing as Queen Amidala on the 4th, May the 4th be with you, I think me as an Oompa Loompa is probably blackmail worthy. But if you laugh, I'm going to put a hex on you because I'm going to put that chant in your mind, you know, Oompa Loompa Doppity Doo. Anyway, we did have a good time. Next month, we are going to host Trunk or Treat, and next year as well, Chief, and the year after, just so you know. We appreciate all the participation that you and support you have given us in the years past, and I hope that will continue this year. And also in January, we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary as a library. We really got started right about now, 25 years ago, but we moved into a real building from the jury room, I think, 25 years ago in January. So we'll do a celebration and hope everybody will enjoy that. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Miss Linda. Council, any questions? Oompa Loompa song in your brain? When do we sign up for Trunk or Treat?
It's on Monday, so we'll have to get rid of school people and set up there, but we'll be having some meetings.
Okay. Outstanding. Thanks so much. All right, that concludes staff reports and item number 5. On to item number 6, city engineer projects and status reports. Sam. Good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
The floor is yours, sir.
I'll be real brief tonight. So my only update is on the 2252 project. I did submit the final plans to TxDOT for approval. They came back with more comments. So we'll have those addressed this week and get it back to them, so we should be able to start our permitting process. So we're getting very close to bidding this project out. So that's pretty much my only project or item that I wanted to bring up off my report.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Council, anything for Sam? That was quick. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item number 7, city commission and committee reports, recommendations, and possible actions. 7A, planning and zoning commission. Ms. Karen, already on your way up. The first thing we have is expiring terms on the 30th of September of certain commissioners from planning and zoning. And Karen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, so we have 3 commissioners whose terms are expiring this month, but after discussion, all 3 commissioners decided that we did want to reapply, if you will. The commission actually voted unanimously to submit the recommendation to reappoint us. That's Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Jockman, and Commissioner Bates, to serve another term which would expire September 30th of 2024. So with that, I will turn it over to council to have discussion and take action.
Okay, council, anybody wish to discuss this? If there's no discussion, can I get a motion to approve the recommendation to reappoint Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Yakima, and Commissioner Bates to serve another term with their terms expiring September 30th, 2024?
I make a motion to approve the reappointments of Commissioner Diaz, Yakima, and Bates for 2 more years.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation. Can I get a second?
Second the motion.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
You can continue on with your monthly report, ma'am.
I have one item of information to present, and it has to do with planning and zoning discussing at our last meeting, creating a technical committee
to research and gather information regarding possible alternate compliance options as it relates to impervious cover. After discussion, the commission voted unanimously to set up this committee, and Commissioners Crow and Bates volunteered to work on this project. Once the volunteer commissioners have had time to research the impervious cover alternatives, they will bring the information to the commission for discussion before presenting it to you, the council. And that's all I have, other topics. Any questions?
Thank you, Karen. Anybody have questions for planning and zoning? Thanks so much.
Thanks.
It's good to see you. Okay, item number 7B, Quarry Commission. The Quarry Commission did not meet in August, so there is no update at this time. Moving on to the Water Commission. The Water Commission did not meet in August, so there's no update at this time. Wildlife Management Advisory Commission, same applies. They did not meet in August, so therefore no update at this time. Moves us on to item number E, Parks Committee. And E1 is the proposed Eagle Scout project at Paul Davis Park. I know Eagle Scout Noah Bliss has been waiting patiently, so come on forward. And Colonel Bliss, are you going to join him, or are you just watching from the audience? He's got it? All right. All right, Noah, thanks for being here. You look fantastic, by the way. How goes band practice? Good? Long, right?
Thank you.
Nobody practices longer and harder than band.
Yep.
Sir, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. My name is Noah Bliss. I'm a Life Scout in Troop 828, just down the road, and I am currently working on my Eagle project to get my Eagle Scout before my 18th birthday in April. My proposed project is a bike rack in Paul Davis Park, or rather 2 bike racks. I got this idea because my brother and his friends like to hang out at the park and play basketball. And he always comes back complaining, oh, I have nowhere to put my bike. I had to just throw it on the ground. And I had the same thing happen when we had a band event there last year, actually, and I rode my bike to it. And unfortunately, I just had to lean the bike against a sign. And so having these bike racks will not only make the park a cleaner, less cluttered place, it'll also make it safer, because with currently they can be a safety hazard for children running around. We don't want anyone tripping over them. And it'll also just be cleaner, safer looking for communities and organizations to enjoy. So my current plan is, if it gets approved by you guys, and I hope you do, then I will start by fundraising from family and friends, and then I'll purchase items and find volunteers for my troop to do this work. For the actual workday, I'm looking at a timetable of hopefully mid to late October for when these get installed. Installation should be a one-day process. Just get out there. The holes ideally are pre-drilled by the Public Works Committee. I've been working with Mr. Chamberlain on that. So they can get out the day before and drill those holes for us. All we have to do is assemble the bike racks, put them in, pour the concrete, set them up so they don't tilt while they're setting. And yeah. What else? Just that's the list of supplies up there. I won't go through it all because it's very long, but just a couple bags of concrete. My plan for the racks themselves, ideally we have one larger bike rack by the front of the park, kind of off the pavement to the right of the Foursquare area. That one would be a 7-slot rack, and then another 5-slot rack in the back of the park, kind of between the Gaga ball pit and the basketball court for teenagers that go back there, like my brother, to play basketball. Just to have multiple options so they don't have to leave their bikes in the front and walk to the back. Just some safety stuff for the troop. This presentation was slightly more in detail than I realized, so Yeah, I don't need to go through all that. But that's all I have for my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Council, any questions for Noah Bliss? Kay?
Yes, sir. I think it's a terrific idea. Aside from cost, what made you decide on a smaller rack instead of 2 7-bike racks?
I decided on the smaller rack because we don't need the volume of the bigger rack in the back of the park. I feel like there's going to be less people going back there. The larger one is in the front, in my eyes, is more as a spot where people can come and have access to the pavilions, which will have a lot more volume of people than the back of the park.
How much more work would it be? Would you be opposed to a 7-bike rack in the second place as well?
No, ma'am, I wouldn't be opposed to that. It's just slightly more expensive, but it's no more work than the 5.
I'd be willing to pay the difference. I mean, it's only $21 if these figures are accurate, but I just think planning for the future, because if we have people playing soccer or something, if they know that there's a bike rack, possibly not literally between the goggle ball pit and the basketball, if it's maybe a little more visible, then maybe people playing soccer or baseball or something, or softball could utilize it as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a thought.
Of course.
Great question and great answer.
Thank you.
Council, anything else?
Could you show the pictures of where the location is?
So the
Just
pictures,
scan-
I don't think I have
Yeah,
any
they're on there.
pictures.
Yeah,
I think we got them, yeah.
Oh,
I asked for it.
Perfect.
They're there.
Yeah.
So that's the larger bike rack. You can see the 4 square area
So-
there.
Okay.
Some
And
more
Public Works has looked at the locations, Stephen? Okay, and you're okay with all those? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council, anything else?
Great job doing your homework.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
Awesome.
So, council, if you're not done yet, Noah. If you are in favor of this, unless there's any more discussion, can I get a motion to approve the proposed Eagle Scout project at Paul Davis Park by Eagle Scout Noah Bliss?
I would move to approve it with the addendum that you go with a 7, and I will pay the difference if that's appropriate.
We have a motion to approve with a slight addendum. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve with addendum and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously, Noah. Great job. So
Thank
thanks.
you.
If you'll come up, you did a great job. Take my card, because I want, if you'll email me, I want updates on it, okay? And I want to be there when you finish it off, okay? So, and I'd also like to help out donation-wise, okay? All right, great job.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Mayor Erickson, and thank you, council members, for your time.
Go Wolves, go Band. Good job, Kid Bliss. All right. Mr. Chamberlain, Rod, the floor is yours for Parks Committee update.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. And great presentation by Noah Bliss. I really do appreciate working with him and everything else. So I'd like to give a round of applause to him again, please. Our last journal membership meeting was on August the 10th, and our next one is next Wednesday, September the 14th, at the Blue Bonnet Room at the Community Center at 9:30 in the morning. Our accomplishments over the last 30 days was to provide care and support for the young trees and other vegetation planted at Paul Davis Park. This included adding mulch, watering, and weed control. We also wrapped up last-minute items for this year's fiscal budget and a brainstorming session regarding potential future enhancements at Paul Davis Park, and working with, obviously, as you heard, Scout Noah Bliss on his Eagle Scout project. What's planned for the next 60 days is continue our brainstorming sessions on regarding potential enhancements in Paul Davis Park, specifically a trail extension from what we currently have at the park, and installation of a new water fountain near the baseball field in September 2022. I just want that understood, okay, this year, this month. I'm pretty excited about it, okay. And that's it for me as far as updates. Any questions from the mayor or from the council?
Council, any updates for Mr. Chamberlain? No, thanks, Rod.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all the hard work you and everybody do at the park. Great job. Okay, that completes item number 7 on the agenda. Moving on to item number 8, approvals and authorizations. We have already accomplished 8A with the adoption of a home rule charter. We'll move on to 8B, reschedule October City Council regular meeting. Remember when we met a week ago Monday, we needed to get everybody's input on what day we would all be available, whether it would be Tuesday. We have to reschedule the regular October City Council meeting because of TML, and we've got people there, the majority of us. So what we'd like to do is reschedule it, and we have 2 primary options available. We have Tuesday, the 11th, or Wednesday, the 12th. So Tuesday, the 11th is the day after Columbus Day, or just city holiday. And the 12th, what we would, if we approved that, we would need to cancel the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that's scheduled for that night. Nancy, am I missing anything, or Marissa? Okay, what we didn't have was, Kelly, what's your availability for those 2 dates?
I can do both.
Okay. What about Cynthia? You are available on the 12th, correct? Yes, sir. Okay, but we don't know about the 11th.
The 11th, we would actually have to assign coverage.
Okay. So you guys know how I feel about that. They do great, but we love having Cynthia here. Nancy, anything else that we're missing on that? What do we have on the agenda? I mean, what are the ramifications if we cancel the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in October? Currently, I don't remember anything that's on the agenda scheduled for October, right? We have something for next week, but.
At this time, I'm not aware of anything that would be on the planning and zoning meeting for October.
Okay.
Should something come up, perhaps we can choose an alternate date if there's something that needs to be tended to.
Okay.
But
Can I ask the commission chair if she has any inputs? Okay, so Karen Diaz, the chair of the Planning and Zoning, is okay if we need to cancel the meeting in October for Planning and Zoning because we'll have a regular city council meeting that night. So, floor is open to discuss. No?
So the proposal is for, at this point, for October 12th, Wednesday, and that would ensure that Cynthia is available?
Yes, that would be, we're all available and
Right.
Cynthia is available that night.
I would recommend that date,
Okay.
as long as Ms. Diaz is comfortable with moving her commission. But based on what we know now.
Yep, sounds like she is. Okay. Jesse, Todd, any inputs on that? Okay.
12 works.
If there's no discussion, we do need a motion and a second and a vote on this. So can I have a motion for the 12th?
I move that we reschedule the October City Council meeting to October 12th, 2022 at 6 o'clock.
Okay, we have a motion for rescheduling the October City Council regular meeting to Wednesday, October 12th. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Chair Diaz, and thank you, Council. Our regular scheduled meeting for October will be the 12th, Wednesday, the 12th. Moving on to item number 8C, ordinance number 5409, 2022, an ordinance of the City Council of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting a comprehensive water company for the city of Garden Ridge, providing definitions and statement of organization, establishing a water commission, general policies, regulations, rules, and rates and billing cycles, providing for penalty, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. So what we're trying to do here is amend and add to ordinance number 54, which governs all things water for the city of Garden Ridge. Last month, we already approved the changes, water loss adjustment wording that was approved last month. And what we're looking to do is also add a commission member to make it a commission of 7 commissioners rather than what it is right now. What's driving that is the fact that, hey, it's summer, and in August, we didn't have a quorum to meet with the Water Commission. So if we don't have a quorum in a commission meeting, just like a council meeting, there's no reason to meet because we can't do any city business. We can't act on anything. So the Water Commission is full of outstanding commissioners, and trips and business trips and vacations happen, and this would help us to possibly ensure a quorum later on, and I think that's I think it's a good thing. So you all have had time to read your packet and open it up for discussion. Nancy, do we need to review anything else?
No, you covered everything.
Okay. Kelly, Lisa, thoughts? Jesse?
Yes, well, since I was past chairman of the Water Commission, I was the one that actually made this recommendation, because this happened also when I was chairman. We had to cancel one meeting because of lack of quorum back then. And this is the only commission that had 6 people. All the other commissions had 7. They never knew, understood why, and I had brought it up back then, nothing happened, but, so anyway, appreciate support I got from Nancy and the mayor this time to move on with this one, so I highly recommend this.
Thanks, Jesse.
Jim agrees back there.
Totally agree. Got a head nod in the back of the audience back there. Todd, okay? Okay. All right, can I get a motion to approve then?
I make a motion to approve the revisions to ordinance 54 as written.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second from Todd, just under the wire. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Fantastic. On to item number 8D, request from Buckley Powder Company for a partial exemption permit to conduct blasting activities at the Hanson Quarry for the period of October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Buckley Powder's partial exemption blasting permit will be expiring on September 30th, 2022. So they are applying for a new partial exemption blasting permit in accordance with Ordinance 34 for the period of October 1, 2022 through 9/30/2023. They have submitted all the required paperwork per Ordinance 34. I do not see any problem with it. They have not had any violations of Ordinance 34. And Hanson is asking them to apply for the permit as well. In addition to that, the council needs to set the annual fee for the partial exemption permit. And it is recommended that the partial exemption permit for this, for the year 2023 be increased by 5% over the prior year's permit fee. Therefore, that permit fee would be $29,955.77. The 5% increase offsets administrative cost increases that the city has to support quarry matters.
Thank you,
That's it.
thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that update. Council, any discussion? Okay.
I didn't look this up, but This is fairly consistent with what we've done in the past, I believe.
It is.
Yes.
Yep. Very, and they are, remember, half of Garden Ridge geographical area is the largest quarry in North America, so, and they do a great job with the blasting. So I think this is a good thing to keep them going. So if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve the request from Buckley Powder Company for a partial exemption permit and applicable fee increase for the period of 1 October 2022 through 30 September 2023?
I move to approve the 5% increase, the proposed increase as presented in the letter to the mayor and city council by Ms. Kane.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Can we get a second?
Mayor.
Oop, sorry. Go, Nancy.
We need to approve the partial
Okay.
exemption
I'm sorry.
permit
I want to.
with, but in that motion, you can set the fee with it, but it should state the approval of the partial exemption permit.
Okay. You want to restate the motion? Okay.
Yes. Let me restate that. I move to approve the partial exemption permit as requested to reflect the 5% increase.
Does that work? Okay.
Yeah,
We have a
I think
motion
so.
to approve the partial exemption permit for Buckley Powder Company and the applicable 5% fee increase. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
You bet. All call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. On to number 8, item number 8E, WD pension mark request for variance to ordinance number 7, transferable water rights requirement. Nancy, the floor is yours again.
Okay. Council may recall that back in March of 22, council approved a recommendation from the Water Commission for WD Pension Mark Office Center to transfer 11.08 acre-feet of Edwards water rights to the city of Garden Ridge. Several weeks after that approval, I was contacted by the developer who stated he was unable to find those water rights, and therefore it's putting his development project on hold. On July 19th, 2022, Mr. Dean Salyer, who is the property owner and developer for the WD Pension Mark Office project, submitted a variance to the transferable water rights, a variance request to those transferable water rights. And I met with him and his architect, and we discussed the possibility of a monetary option for the variance request that would assist the city to ensure that we maintained an ample water supply through the expansion of water storage infrastructure, water rights lease purchases, or securing additional water through other sources. They came back and they are proposing to make a monetary contribution of $80,167.50. That is based on using the water impact fee that the city already has established times the number of LUEs for their project. They are also asking that the monetary contribution be split between Phase 1 and Phase 2 as the original water rights approval was as well. So Phase 1 will bring, they would have to pay $34,357.50 at the completion of Phase 1, and at the completion of Phase 2, the amount due would be $45,810. It's my recommendation that council consider that variance request option for a WD pension mark. So, and with the amount of the monetary contribution being payable in accordance with each phase of the project. And that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Council, any questions or discussion items for Nancy on this? Jesse, nothing? One of the things I think we should make sure everybody knows is that this money, if you guys approve this variance, doesn't just go into the general fund and go away. It's set specifically in the water fund, and we keep track of this. And this is to help us purchase more water if we need to, based on the LUEs, 17.5. So we keep track of this. This goes into the reserves. So just to clarify that. If there's no other discussion items, can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the variance request from WD Pension Mark to allow a monetary contribution of $80,167.50 to the city of Garden Ridge in lieu of the transfer of 11.08 acre feet from Edwards. Payments will be made at the completion of each phase as listed in the memo from city administrator.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion?
For the sake of the audience, we might want to state what LUEs are.
Go ahead.
Living unit somethings.
Living unit equivalents.
Good job. Living unit equivalents. Good job. Okay, any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thanks, Nancy. It's a lot of hard work out there. Okay, that completes item number 8. On to item number 9, updates in city council projects. So 9A1, meeting with Comal County officials concerning new residential development on Back Cave Road. Impacts on Garden Ridge. We'll probably combine the two, Lisa, with mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts on Garden Ridge. What you
Right,
got?
and I think we can probably remove the meeting with Comal County officials
Okay.
as well. Few updates. I did speak with, or did email with Laddie Denton, who is the developer of Enchanted Bluff. There was a question from a citizen about the kind of blind curve on Bat Cave and how that lined up with the entrance. And he said they are doing an extended deceleration lane, will provide access to the community and will pull traffic off of Bat Cave, so it's not stacking up while people wait to go through. He did say they've cleared the area for Unit 1, and they're avoiding, breaking through to Bat Cave and exposing the property. They're trying to keep everything really contained on site. And that was, I think that's all I've got. Do you have anything else on Enchanted Bluff? I don't have anything else.
No,
Okay.
none at this time. Thanks.
3009. Nancy and I had another good meeting with David from the Great Springs Project. He let us know that the Texas Department of Transportation is putting out a call for projects, the transportation alternatives. And they're really focused on bike and pedestrian projects, including safe school crossings, those kinds of things. So we did ask him to, put on his thinking cap about Garden Ridge Elementary and what we could do to make it walkable, to make the kids, in that area of Garden Ridge able to walk to school. We talked about an overpass, which I think we said would probably be about $3.5 million. And an underpass, and he said the culverts aren't expensive. What is expensive is the excavation down into that rock. And again, that's up into the millions as well. I do want to visit him some more about either of those being appropriate for the transportation alternatives project call. I think they're too big for what they're looking for. Is that the impression that you got? And we'd have to, there's a match involved too. So that's our match of 20% of $3.5 million is substantial. We also talked about, and I'm going to let Nancy explain this one because it's really hard for me to visualize. He talked about doing an offset intersection to allow for an at-grade crossing. But I'll let you take over on that description.
Okay, I'll try my best.
I know, it's hard.
What he was talking about is, we already have a light here at Municipal Parkway. And then our next street would be Teakwood. Utilize this light at Municipal Parkway, add another light at Teakwood to stop the traffic there at Teakwood, and then doing like some median type work
I think
where.
he called it a pedestrian island.
Yes, a pedestrian island where there could be, during the time both of these lights would be activated at stop, then people could cross across that open, or that pedestrian, safe pedestrian crossing area. Never seen one before, so it is a little difficult to visualize. Don't know how that would work, though. Also, I know my question was, well, you've got Trophy Oaks entrance right down, not too terribly far down from Teakwood, so what is that going to do to stacking of traffic? We need to find out a whole lot more. He was supposed to send us some samples of some that are in other states. I don't believe there were any in Texas.
No. Mm-mm.
But that's
Yeah,
what
those
I
are-
got out of it.
Right, so those were the three things he presented to us, and I don't think any of the three of them are getting us where we need to go. So we'll keep working on it, thinking about it, and, move forward and try to put something together, for one of these grant opportunities or funding opportunities that's coming up.
There's got to be state, federal money out there to build the underpass.
We'll keep,
Or something like
keep
that.
looking, yeah.
Okay. We need grant writing experience. Something.
Oh, and we're still, I meant to say that we have a meeting in October with San Antonio Councilmember Perry to keep talking about home rule. Not home rule, to ETJ.
And what did you learn about ETJ as far as distance?
Well, what we've learned about ETJ is that 5,000 or under 5,000, you can only take a half a mile from the city line.
Per state statute.
Per state statute. But if you hit the 5,000 mark, you get to take a mile. So that much ETJ can be released to us at our property line, but, at our city line. But Nancy and Cynthia and I were still talking about some ways that we could maybe finesse that. And there's still more discussions with San Antonio and they have some ideas as well. I mean, they're perfectly willing.
Yeah.
You just have to follow the law.
They're not saying no.
No, they're not saying no. They're saying,
Let's
let's
continue
figure
to
this
meet.
out.
Yeah. Another great thing, council, with going from general law to home rule is once you have an extended ETJ, there are less encumbrance to annexation. So bringing more area into the city. So anything else, Lisa?
That's it.
That's great work. Thanks. Okay, on to item number 3, Economic Development Council Liaison to Tri-County Chamber of Commerce. Kelly, your show, man.
Yes, sir. Minnie and I are in talks still with a brewery that I cannot name right now, that they're very interested in moving to our city, adding a second location. And we are still trying to get a meeting with them face-to-face. The excitement's there, the intent is there. We just got to get there's 4 of us that we've got to get sat down at the same time for a meeting. So possibly 5. Rob?
I'd like to be there, maybe 6. Can you talk about the mixer coming up in?
Okay, I was going to do that. Yeah, I was going to do
Week
that
and a
on the
half.
line. But okay, so we have a mixer on September 22nd, that is Thursday, September 22nd at Paul Davis Park, and sponsored by Leapfrog Promotions and Alamo Beer Company. If for some reason we have inclement weather, then it will be up here at the community center. And then we have a chamber luncheon on Tuesday, September 13th. And then, and as of a week and a half ago, our city-sponsored banner stand is now proudly displayed at every major chamber event. So we'll make sure to get it brought over for our mixer, our event.
Good, thanks so much. We've got some
You're
good
welcome.
donations coming for the mixer, so.
Yes, we do. Oh, yeah, and LOL Liquors is donating as
Yep.
well. Helping
So-
sponsors, so thank you to them as well.
Outstanding. Great work, Kelly. Thanks. Okay, moving on. Jesse, Alamo Area MPO.
Okay, so the Technical Advisory Committee for the MPO met in August after our last August meeting, and a couple of topics on the agenda. Expansion of the airport, that was covered at Northeast Partnership not too long ago. It's been updated since that one. So I have a copy of all the slides. If y'all need them, would like to see some of the slides for this and any other topics, ask Marissa and I can send them to Marissa. But Terminal C is looking at 2028, and there's changing the in and outflow of the airport, making big changes there, and then a central passenger screening is the main thing. Via Metropolitan Transit also talked, that doesn't affect us. And then there was approval of the TxDOT fiscal year 2023 Unified Transportation Program. It's a 10-year lookout. And as far as projects for our area, the only one in our area is the FM 2252 expansion. Nothing else was new from there. That's the only one that was on the list. So no other projects for our area. The September meeting was rescheduled from this past Friday to this coming Friday. On the agenda is this fiscal year 2025 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program call for projects. So I guess we have to, so that'll be on there, and if I'm part of that committee, we have to look at who's going to take the lead on that one. Okay, so we need to discuss that, you know, or decide on how, but I'll find out that and bring the information back to Nancy, and we can talk on that. So one idea was to put on there, if we could, the FM 3009 expansion, go to 4 lanes. That was my intent. So we're talking about different areas there anyway, so. Also, at the August Northeast Partnership meeting, I met Sonia Jimenez. She's the Deputy Director for the Alamo Area MPO, and told her about my interest in getting on the TAC, and she, of course, she told me to talk to Kevin, which I have been doing anyway. And anyway, she offered to do a MPO 101 to come here to the city, so later in this year. So we just got to work on scheduling a date for that. So it'd be good to have an idea what the MPO does, so. Yeah,
Great work.
so
Totally agree.
maybe we can,
Thanks
once I
for
work
building
on
those.
that, get some dates.
It's all about relationship building.
Right.
So,
That's all I have.
great work.
Okay.
Thanks, Jesse. Todd, Comal ISD and all things thereof. Sorry, yep, I skipped. Water Company Utilities Department. So, Jesse, anything else to add
I
there?
really don't have anything at this point to add, but we just want to cover it on the agenda, so. There's some things I'm working on that I'll be working on maybe the next month or so I can report. Thank you.
Thank you. I was so anxious to hear Todd. Go.
A little bit to report. One, the new elementary school across from Danville is on schedule. That does impact us because guess what? It's designed to relieve Guard Ridge Elementary School, which fits into the crosswalk, the traffic that's going to be on 3009, traffic stacking up to Trophy Oaks. All of those things are going to help the morning drop-off. So it'll be open in time for next school year. Other development is I am now on the Comal Forward Committee, commission, whatever the heck they're calling it. So we'll have more to report from that as those meet and we start talking about new superintendents and new school names and all of those different things that go on.
Thanks for doing that. That's huge, Todd. Thank you. All right, Kay. City welcome signage. I know you got stuff here.
I don't have anything on signage like we're thinking. I have a report on water tower signage, which is not, it's sort of a welcome. In your packet, you had pictures of the water tower, 3 proposals. And I've been in touch with Michael, the sales representative, as has the mayor. I think at this point, we've been quoted facts and figures, and we're waiting, actually, the mayor and Nancy and I, to find a time to meet together to discuss his propositions and so on, with some input from our Public Works Department. We may or may not have conflicting information, I'm not sure. But at this point, we're looking for maybe a recommendation or consensus on what design, if nothing else, to go forward. Whether we can do this or not, it may be cost prohibitive. We do have a figure, from Christine on possible funds available, and it doesn't necessarily cover what the proposals are. So we need to consider all the options. So these are just ideas of what we'd like to do, but we need to work it out. So I think maybe just a consensus on who likes what would be the most we could hope for this evening, unless you have some further input.
Yeah, I like that, but I think that the three of us need to get together to meet and to discuss further. The price originally quoted to me was considerably less than the price that actually came through over email. So in the low tens of thousands originally, and now it's quoted at 19.5. So which takes it completely out of possibility for this fiscal year. So to clarify why we reached out to Michael Bruck, he's the same guy that we reached out to with Davenport High School to possibly paint the tower and light the tower. So I asked him to come and give us some information on painting the water storage facility at the north end of town at 3009 as welcome signage for the city of Garden Ridge. So these are some shots that he gave us. Right now, our only intention would be looking at painting the actual water storage facility up on the north end, there's the water tower itself, and we have no intention to repaint that for years to come, just based on the price and allocation for Davenport High School if they come through with light the tower stuff. So I don't think we need to have a consensus right tonight, but we wanted to make you guys aware of some things that we're working on, and we can get a head nod to see if you like what we're doing. Do you guys like it? Keep going with it? What, you got a hesitation there, Kelly?
Well, I just wanted to add one thing. If we're gonna run with this, I definitely suggest we keep consistency. If we're changing from the green to the brown to the, just setting the foundation from here on out. I mean, the green, the brown to me just doesn't go along with Garden Ridge to me, but that's the marketing guy in me, so.
You don't like the rust? Isn't it rust?
The rust, sorry.
Dang it, I like the rust. Okay, so don't like. How about we just keep on rolling with this, Kay and I and Nancy, and Kay's doing the yeoman's work on this, and when we have more to give, we will come forward. Does that work? Yeah? Okay?
That's fine, sure.
Okay. All right, Kay, anything else?
No, as far as the original signage concept we talked about was creating some signage. Personally, I think I mentioned this before, the Selma sign on Lookout, the new, where they put the stonework and so on, but something like that, we could put at our main entrances, if you will, to our city. Obviously, we wouldn't, repeating what I said last month, we wouldn't want to do this on 2252 yet because of possibility of, damage or relocation necessitated by the expansion. So something we could replicate, but I don't have facts and figures. I do have a contact, and I'll pursue that more before the next meeting.
Anything else?
Not on that.
On to item number 8, recycling at the parks.
Yeah, I have spoken to other members of the Parks Committee as well on the recycling, and I know from personal experience with the Lions many years ago, trying to encourage people to recycle. And despite the fact that I cut holes, I think, again, I mentioned this last month, that I got Coroplast in the Lions color and cut holes in round holes, presuming people would only stick their water bottles in there. I was mistaken. So sorting through that is really not something that anyone has pretty much signed up for. I don't think it's fair to our staff or any of our volunteers to have to do that. So aside from putting big blue, recycle bins at the park, which of course, once again, I just don't think people, it's not that they're being dismissive or whatever, I just think they don't pay attention. And it's not something that we can really enforce heavily. So I don't think we should consider it this time. And I did speak to Kim Ryan, who's our community center manager, if she's ever pursued that with the community center or had anyone approach her on it, and she said no. She said the most she has seen is people who rent the facility maybe carrying their water bottles home, but possibly because they don't know where to throw them or something, but just on a good conscience taking their water bottles home. But beyond that, I think it's not feasible. Both she and she agreed to tell me if someone ever approaches her when renting the facility, like, why don't you, or something like that, and then we're both open to, again, suggestions on how we would encourage that. I'm a big advocate of it, but I don't know how we can encourage that. We did have a Grinch at the Christmas tree lighting with a sign to say, please recycle, and that wasn't even totally, and if the Grinch can't make it happen, I don't know who can.
Okay. Do you want it taken off as a?
Let's take it off for now unless I have some exciting news and can bring it back.
Okay. Council, any questions about that? Okay. Thanks, Kay. All right, that completes item number 9. Item number 10, discussion of future agenda items. Remember, we're not going to discuss it. It's just, do you want something on next month's agenda? Kelly? Lisa? Jesse? Todd? Okay. Okay. On to item number 11, citizen comment period. You don't have to sign up for this if you want to come up and speak. Remember, we can't comment on your wonderful words. You have 2 minutes. Do we have any takers? I'm getting head nods in the negative. Okay. Thanks for being here, everybody, by the way.
Shouldn't John McCall come up here and just say hi?
It's good to see you, John. Oh, he's coming.
He's coming. Here checking in on us. We need to know what's going on.
Sir, please state your name and your address for the record. Things never change. Sorry, no comment.
That's really one nice thing about not being up here and sitting back there is I can leave anytime I want. But it was a good meeting. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. It's great to see you. Anybody else? Okay. I'll take that as a no. On to item number 12, reports and comments from mayor and city council members about the items listed below. Anybody have stuff to add? Jesse?
Yeah, just a reminder, I have flyers over there for the 7th Annual Garden Ridge Car Show, scheduled for Saturday, October 22nd, from 8 to 4. So out here in the community center, all the parking lots here, so hope we have a good turnout this year, good weather. John Bursack, our chairman this year, is doing a great job in sponsorships and coordinating events, so he's doing, come out and support him. This is all proceeds go to the police department, by the way, and the Comal County 100 Club.
Come on out. It's going to be and it's again the largest annual car show in South Central Texas, right?
Yeah.
It's huge. That's great work, everybody involved. Todd, anything with the Boy Scouts?
Well, as a matter of fact, because I don't think I mentioned it yet, the same day that the families of Garden Ridge did their road cleanup, the Boy Scout Troop 828 did from basically the corner of 3009 on 2252 down 2252 clear to the quarry entrance as a road cleanup. We've done the Adopt a Highway, so Troop 828 is cleaning that up now.
That's outstanding. Thank you. And we need to add, I forgot to give this to you, Nancy, before. April Cook said there's 16 volunteers for 2 hours, 32 volunteer hours.
I'll go with that.
For the city of Garden Ridge.
And most of
That's
that
easy
is
math.
actually in the city limits.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So that goes with that. Obviously, we
The
have.
families
Eagle
at Garden
Scout.
Ridge did 41 hours. Did you
Are you gonna make
know
a
that?
competition
No,
now?
I'm sure, absolutely.
Maybe the young ones-
100%, yeah.
Maybe because I have young scouts, we move a little faster.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna pay for that one.
Rod Chamberlain is not, he's not happy with that comment.
No, we've also got a number of scouts coming up that are Life Scouts that are looking for Eagle projects. So I direct them towards our Parks Committee on a regular basis. So we should be seeing some more of that up here. The other thing I want to bring up as the Camel ISD rep is, folks, if you haven't been out to Davenport High School yet to see a football game, you need to get out there. How many games have they lost this year?
0.
Oh, that means they're, what?
2-0.
Yeah, okay, I don't want to
Go
jinx them,
Wolves.
so. But they're putting together a pretty good football season so far. They're fun to watch. I highly encourage people to come out. And it's not just about football. There's events going on at that high school all the time, and it's a lot of fun, and it is a neat school. I'm done.
We have 2 defensive members that are in the top 15 for tackles in the Region 2, which includes 2A through 6A, South Central and Texas and Austin. So includes Lake Travis and company.
Wow.
So 2 defensive members, number 25, number 5. All right, Northeast Partnership. Tomorrow's lunch. Who's going?
Next week. I thought it was
It's
next week.
tomorrow. It's tomorrow. I take it you're
Tomorrow's
not
is the
going.
luncheon, yes, yeah.
Yes, you're going?
Yes.
Yay. Okay? Yes. Yay. All right. Marissa, you'll be in Dallas. Okay. Nancy, I'll see you there. Okay. Anything else? We talked about the mixer. Chief talked about the homecoming parade on the 5th of October. I think that's it. Okay. That closes out item number 12. We'll go on to item number 13, executive session. I'll read this aloud, just so that we've got everything covered. The City Council will recess its open meeting and reconvene in executive session. 13A pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0711 and 551.0712, consultation with attorney, and 551.072, deliberations about real property. 1, to seek legal advice regarding pending litigation, cause number Charlie 2022-0615 Bravo, Michael C. Dumgart II versus City Council for the City of Garden Ridge, Texas. 2, to consult with and receive legal advice regarding variance and special use permit processes related to development project Guadalupe Ready Mix, proposed concrete batch plant at 20762 FM 2252. 3, to deliberate the exchange, lease, and or value of real property at 9357 Schoenthal lease agreement. And 4, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, Vista Ridge Waterline Project. So we will go into recess for our regular session at 8:23, and we will reconvene. Marissa, where are we going to reconvene in executive session? We'll reconvene in the back room behind us at 8:33. Does that work? Give us 10 minutes? All right. We are in recess at 8:23. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's attendance.